Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's episode of Video Ferox, where we're wrapping up All Cops Are Bastards Month by watching a movie that doesn't really have a bastard cop in it. On the sliding scale of if 10 is Dirty Harry and 1 is Barney Fife, he's somewhere in the 2 to 3 range. What are we watching? We're watching Sonny Chiba in Doberman Cop. So unleash the beast and let's roll the trailer.
カノ貴様沖縄じゃドーベルマンと言われたそうだの。ドーベルマンっていうのは逃走のために作られた猛犬だって。貴様任官して以来今日まで何人殺したかわからんって言うじゃねえか。沖縄ではなそれが正当防衛で通用したかもしれんがな、ここではそういかん。探し探し疲れてしらじら夜明けの街角に俺は元の木阿弥や2年間の我慢が全部無駄なんやで。ダメ！右！わしは春の道中歌手に一生の夢かけとんねん。ゴリランでもお前スターにしてみせる。
Alrighty, welcome back from the trailer to Doberman Cop, starring the always awesome Sonny Chiba. And really, that's the only person of note that you're gonna.
Now, in the past, I had seen passing references to Doberman Cop before, and it was as the comic book, the manga, whatever you want to think of it, because there was a comic book store here in Seattle that had a big section of those things, but it was all in Japanese. But sometimes the binding of the book would have the title in English, like, oh, Doberman Cop, I've heard of this. Take it off the shelf, everything inside it's in Japanese. It's just like... But I'm motivated now to see if I can find if anyone's done a translation of it.
And I suppose I shouldn't say that Sonny Chiba is the only name that you're going to recognize from the cast list, because the director was the guy who did Battle Royale. So that's kind of a big deal in Japanese cinema. And the original manga was written by a guy named Bronson, who, you're like, who? And you may not know the name, but you'll certainly know the work, because he was the artist behind Fist of the North Star. And that's a big deal in Japan.
Yes.
So
it makes it a good movie to watch.
Yeah. It certainly sets the expectations at a certain point, and I would say it certainly lives up to it.
It does. You're not going to be disappointed by watching this film. If none of you have watched this film but are seeing this review for the first time, find the movie and watch it. It's an Arrow Films release, right?
Yep. I would take Street Fighter any day of the week over this. Not to say that the movie's bad, but it is certainly one of Sonny's lesser movies, lesser achievement movies. But otherwise, it's fine enough. It's good. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yes.
All right, let's get on to the spoilers, and we'll just tell you all about this.
Yes.
All right, spoilers ahoy.
I work for Kaiser Soze.
Convince me. Convince me. Convince me.
So Sonny is this detective from Okinawa, actually a province of Okinawa. He's like on an island, so he's like super rural.
Yeah.
And he shows up in Tokyo, and I mean, he's got like this big straw hat. He's got kind of frumpy clothes. He looks very much like a hick, a hayseed.
And he's got the burlap rucksack duffel bag, basically. And he's got it slung over his shoulder everywhere he goes.
Sonny, he has come from Okinawa because he is looking for was it a sister or a friend?
Neighbor. He grew up in one house. This girl grew up in the house next door.
Meanwhile, there's another facet of crime going on where this arsonist dude is killing like sex workers.
All of his victims are sex workers. However, none of the sex workers were sexually assaulted, but they were murdered and arson. Their bodies were burned.
And so we open on this crime scene where there's this charred corpse and the police are looking at it and doing like, they found like a photo in the wreckage because it was her apartment. And it's like, okay, well, this is obviously what she looks like. We'll go and use this as the basis of our investigations.
Seeing what I saw, I'm immediately like, that's a really good job of making a human body look like, showing a charred human body. And they used a real person. And I'm looking at it, and I got so caught up in scrutinizing how it was done that I had to go back and rewatch the entire scene because I missed all of the dialogue because, well, it's subtitled.
Okay, I have seen some pretty hard shit in the course of the project, in the course of Video Ferox. So I'm not necessarily a squeamish sort of dude.
Yeah.
But I sat down and with dinner, and it's like, okay, I'm going to watch Doberman Cop for the review. And I hit play, and I'm about to tuck in on my hamburger, and they open up on the charred corpse. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do dinner first and then come back to the movie. It was that realistic.
It's that realistic. But once you actually take a moment and set aside your reaction and stare at it, you realize that's a perfectly normal body covered in goo is really all it is. But at the first glance, it's like, oh, I can't look at that. It's really done that well.
And so Sonny, he winds up injecting himself into the local cop's investigation because he's looking for the sex worker. He's showing around the photo of his girl, and they kind of overlap and match up, and so he winds up hooking up with the cops. He comes there, and he's talking to the chief. They're having a little briefing about what the hell's going on about the arson crime wave. And he winds up going to the precinct and talking to the cops, and it's like, oh, hey, I brought you a gift, by the way, and gives him the pig. And, of course, the chief's like, what the fuck am I going to do with this? It's like, well, you break its neck, you slit it open, you eat it, it's very tasty.
You cook it, it's later you begin to realize he knew they wouldn't take the pig from him. That was all an act, because the pig is, in reality, his pet. It's like he has a pet dog. The pig is a pet dog. It's what it all is.
They're thinking hayseed. They're thinking, this rube just brought us a fucking pig. He's going to be any use to us on the force. And then there's the fucking rescue at the building where Sonny Chiba climbs down off the fucking skyscrapers. Oh my God.
Yes. Sonny Chiba, I wouldn't say he's Jackie Chan. Not in that caliber. He does a lot of his own stunts. He drives the vehicles and he crashes vehicles. He jumps off of buildings. I mean, yes, he does a lot of these things, but he's more like the current Tom Cruise. he does these fantastic stunts because he knows.
It looks fucking good for the audience.
Yes.
And so what happens is that one of the sex workers gets abducted by not the guy that's doing the arson, just another unrelated crime.
Yeah, some guy who's madly in love with her. I'm going to run away and we're going to live happily ever after. But if you don't leave me alone, I'm going to kill her.
And Sonny Chiba's goes to the officer in charge and is like, look, I handled a case just exactly like this. And well, what did you do? Well, I climbed down the outside of the building and busted through the window and came in from an unexpected avenue. And the officer in charge is like, you're out of your fucking mind. We're on a 20 stories of a 40-story building. And he's like, I can do this. And so they get up to the roof and they get him in one of the harnesses. And Sonny Chiba, this long shot, you see his face going over the edge and there's nothing but air beneath him.
And he rappels down the outside of the building. I wouldn't do that. I'm not that crazy.
And so Sonny gets down from floor 40 down to floor 20 and just basically does the John McClane through the window, pushes off, comes in, smashes, grabs the dude, and it takes care of the case.
Yes.
And the police bust in, and all of a sudden, Sonny goes from hayseed to hero.
Yes.
And this is where, they call him Doberman Cop because originally it was supposed to be, instead of a pig, it was supposed to be a Doberman Pinscher. But the director is like, okay, that doesn't really work, and let's go with the pig instead. So the Doberman part of Doberman Cop doesn't really make sense. And it doesn't make sense that they wouldn't call him Tarzan Cop, because that's what they call him for the rest of the movie, is Tarzan. Because he fucking Tarzaned through the window.
They're trying to use the analogy that he's Doberman Cop because of how he is as a cop. Not that he had anyway.
And so Sonny, his investigation kind of runs parallel to the cops. He kind of divorces himself from the precinct and kind of goes rogue cop, but he doesn't go rogue cop like you would think Dirty Harry would. He kind of actually colors within the lines, keeps within the boundaries.
Yeah.
Winds up falling in with this owner of this strip club sex shop thing.
Yeah.
Basically a pimp, if you would call it that. He gets called out to his face, is like, dude, you fucking hayseed, you're going to get totally taken in this city. Come with me, and we'll make sure that you don't get taken, you rube.
And who's actually the rube who got taken?
Oh, totally. Well, that's the thing. That Sonny Chiba throughout this entire movie, if you're looking at it with any sort of critical eye, it's like he is totally playing up their expectations and totally using their biases against them.
He's learned that the girl that he's trying to find, his childhood friend, and there's some interaction that her mother is a fortune teller or whatever, and he also demonstrates some of the same thing, because he has a bag full of seashells and he uses it for divination. She's dead, she's alive. She's dead, she's alive. But that's another part entirely. But the whole thing is he's looking for someone who's gotten caught up in as a sex worker. So why not integrate himself into that part of the world? And he does it brilliantly.
And I loved the seashells because they come back later at the end of the movie, and they're actually kind of if you're not paying attention, you'll totally miss the importance of the seashells.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
So what happens is that his friend that he's looking for didn't get murdered, is not dead, but did wind up on the trajectory to be a pop idol, a J-pop idol.
Yeah.
But she's also fallen in with the Yakuza, and of course that's kind of a bad life. And so Sonny's like, once she winds up hooking up with him, Sonny goes like, this is a bad path for you. Why don't you come back home with me? And she's, of course, no, I don't know who you are. You're crazy. I've never seen you before in my life. Get away from me. Even though she totally knows who the hell he is.
In the course of trying to figure things out, he's convinced that the fourth murder victim, he believes the gal's still alive. And they're like, well, what evidence do you have? And he pulls out this bag. He opens it and pours the contents out. And all these seashells fall on the table. Some of them, the opening is up, and some of them, the opening is down.
Basically what he's doing is he's playing I love you not. I love you not. But with puka shells.
Only it's not I love you not. It's she's dead, she's alive. She's dead. She's alive. So he gets all the way through this, and he's picking up specifically the ones that are all facing up. And it ends on she's alive. And he goes, I've been doing this since last night, and it keeps coming up that she's alive. And all the cops in the room look at him like, are you fucking kidding me? This is what you're basing your hunch on?
You've totally blown any sort of credibility. Thank you very much.
Prior to that, is freaked out in her dressing room. It's like, I've forgotten the lyrics. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. And I had put together at this point, that's all an act. She's doing that to get a hit.
Yeah, totally.
She's playing her manager Yakuza guy. So he opens his little tin, pulls out the syringe, fixes the needle, pulls out the glass widget with the speed in it.
Here you go, bitch. Here's your smack.
And she's just putting on an act because she wants to be a star, but she also wants her drugs. So she gets her drugs, performs the song. The one judge who the Yakuza guy has blackmailed into voting for her.
And he was the big influential, the Simon Cowell of...
Yeah, he's basically the Simon Cowell of the film. That's a good way of putting it.
I'm really ashamed that I, in fact, can summon his name out of my brain at command like that. I don't watch fucking American Idol. Eurovision, on the other hand.
Between her getting her smack and going on and performing and subsequently winning, she wins, and she decides that she's going to leave the place where the show's being done, and she's going to go back to her dressing room, which is in another building. And as she goes to leave, Chiba intercepts her and says, look, I know who you are. I know you killed the girl.
Well, to cover her tracks, basically.
Yeah. And this is where it's like, that plot twist. I'm like, she's the other killer? Oh my God. So she kills a gal so that people will believe she's dead so that she can become a star as a musician.
And here she is, she's receiving the praise of the audience, and she's finally made it big. And here's Sonny in the backstage.
He's at the back of the auditorium.
Yeah, and he's made his last plea to her, and she's rebuffed him. It's like, no, this is my destiny. And he does the divination again with the puka shells. And this time, it comes up, she's dead. Not that she's dead, because she's obviously right in front of him, but the person she was is no more.
Yes.
And that's a really nice touch.
The bad guy cop, who he's killed, who killed Hotshot and 3 other women, no one knows he's the serial killer. He's gotten killed in the crossfire. He dies an honorable death, so to speak. The cops aren't going to see that anything other than the cop, he got killed.
The one murderer gets away.
The other murderer gets away, becomes a pop star, and he's like, pulls the pig out of the bag, says, I'm sorry for keeping you all cramped, cooped up in the bag. Let's go home. Leash on the pig, and off they go into the sunset?
Into the night.
Into the night.
And it's such I wouldn't say unsatisfying, because I was very satisfied by the ending, but it's very much that was a thing that happened, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about the fighting style in this movie, because we've covered at this point a couple of other kung fu movies. I mean, they did the Bruce Exploitation Month and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And so what we get here in Sonny's fighting style is that he's really, really good at karate, but he is so grounded and so gritty and visceral.
Usually with kung fu movies or the Japanese samurai movies and subsequent karate movies, everything is done on a beat. And Hong Kong cinema had that down. That's the reason why the moves are all on a beat, because they're choreographed. This isn't choreographed. Basically, it's you stand there, you stand there, you stand there, and Sonny's going to beat the shit out of you. Don't worry, he'll pull his punches. Maybe.
And the camera work is this kind of herky-jerky camera moves. But the thing is, unlike modern action movies where they're desperately trying to cover up the star who can't fight at all. I mean, obviously, Sonny Chiba can fight like a motherfucker, so it's not covering up any sins. But it's still fluid, and you still get a sense of what's going on, and you get an idea of what's going on in the room. And so it's just not just... I really liked the camera work in this fucking thing.
Some are in the police station, some are in back alley brawl. It's all over the place. But one of the things that's really neat is these fights are always in confined spaces. And whether or not it's a set, so there's a fourth wall with a big open area... Whether or not that's there or not isn't at all a factor, because usually when they have when a set's built like that, and in this case they very likely were, the camera is usually off in the studio outside of the set, locked off and wide, and they do the fight. The guy is camera on the shoulder, handheld in the middle of the tight space, but wide angle. And Chiba is just wham, boom, boom, pow, pow, pow.
And when you add in Sonny Chiba's mastery of karate,
yes,
it's a fucking joy to watch.
Yes. There's a motorcycle gang, and one of the guys in that motorcycle gang is named Hotshot.
Oh, yeah, Hotshot's great.
Hotshot is a fantastic character. Hotshot is originally one of the people that is believed to be the serial killer. So he gets brought in twice.
Sonny Chiba is a relatively nice guy. The cops, on the other hand, have no fucks to give about his civil liberties. They're like smacking around and doing the lightness face and the third degree thing. And I mean, oh my God.
He gets the crap kicked out of him.
Where's my lawyer? You guys are going to be so fucked.
And here's the thing. Sonny Chiba at one point, they do the same thing to him. They take him into the room, a bare light bulb, and smack the shit out of him.
And he's the fucking cop.
God damn, the cops are so caught up in trying to catch a bad guy that they'll beat the shit out of one of their own trying to find out who the bad guy is.
I think at this point they were just kind of sick of Sonny Chiba's hick hayseed act. So they're like, let's just beat the hayseed out of him.
They don't just beat up the bad guys, they beat up their fellow cops.
The one thing that the movie did that I really appreciated is that usually with this sort of movie, if you have sex workers, they're going to be demonized and they're going to be, looked down upon by, well, pretty much everybody. Here, the movie actually takes lots of time to flesh them out, make them sympathetic characters. There's that one that wants to bang the pig on stage. When they get the pig back into the backstage and into their little apartment where they're staying, she actually likes the pig and is sad to see the pig go. The manager, who you think, okay, he's a pimp, he's exploiting these women. No, he actually turns out to be a pretty cool dude.
He actually cares about the women that are working for him. He's also in love with her, who apparently falls in love with somebody else for 6 months, every 6 months. Because that's what he says. You're just falling in love with somebody for 6 months again. And she does, because Tarzan becomes her one true love.
For the moment, until Tarzan leaves.
All of this basically culminates with the sex workers aren't demonized at all. They're actual genuine victims. They actually just want to live their life leave them the fuck alone. Yeah.
So you got a final thought there, Ian?
Yes, I do. I said it when outside of shooting here that I identified the movie as very pedestrian. And I realize that's the first time I've said it on camera, but I want to take that back. The movie isn't pedestrian. The movie is tongue-in-cheek, fun to watch.
Yes.
It is fun to watch. There are some tropes that will make you think something's going to happen. For example, I actually was... because I was fully expecting in the showdown between Chiba and the Yakuza guy, because he only fired the gun 5 times. He's got a 6th bullet left. And he points it at the bad guy, and I'm like, is he going to do Clint Eastwood here? Is he
No.
Nope, he didn't. I had that moment. Clint Eastwood? Dirty Harry had been out. That first film had hit the screens. Nope, that's not what happened. So it's not pedestrian. It's done well. As I understand it, there's the genre proceeding basically at this point in the 70s in Japan, because we haven't talked about it on camera. The grindhouse film industry is winding down because they're not making money on it anymore. Theater audiences are diminishing. No one's going to the theater. And then they hit upon the idea to start making movies based on manga, based on the comic books. And this is amongst the very first ones done.
Yeah, we haven't quite hit our Gogol 13s and whatnot yet.
No, we haven't. So this film is following the formulaic writing that they were using for the grindhouse films, trying to use source material from a comic book. And in doing so, they stray from the source material a bit. And that's one of the complaints in Japan. Like,
why does he have a pig? He's Doberman Cop, you fucks.
You name him Doberman.
Exactly.
This film was considered a flop. This was a flop? Well, it was because people were tired of the grindhouse films.
It got lost in the noise, basically.
It got lost in the noise, which isn't fair because it's a really good film. And in one of the side interview with the one guy who talks about having worked with Sonny Chiba, he talks about how he recently had a conversation and he jokingly said, we should make another one. And Chiba was like, yeah, we should.
Yeah, sadly the window on that is closed since Chiba died, 2-3 years ago, something like that?
Yes. Unfortunately, COVID-19.
Yeah. Fucking COVID. All right, well, I guess we'll see you next week, and then stay tuned, because we're going to do Sonny Chiba Month eventually. I'm going to bet.
We need to.
We totally need to do Sonny Chiba Month someday. And that puts Doberman Cop behind bars. Next week, it's a brand new month, so we're going to be kicking off a brand new theme. And I'm not going to tell you what the theme is. I'm going to let you connect those dots as the movies unfold. But I will tell you that we are watching Quatermass and the Pit, aka 5 Million Years to Earth. So come back and check out what the hell's going on with that. Drop us email. thevideonastyproject@gmail.com is the address. And until next week, friends, I want you to stay evil.